Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to Sew with Vicky. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to draft and sew this beautiful corset. Here are the list of the materials you'll be using. Although here I didn't use the the 1 inch elastic. I used 1/2 inch elastic instead. So moving on to draft our front pattern, we are going to be measuring our half shoulder span, and then we're going to be going down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. So we are going to go ahead and mark our armhole line, which is 9 inches. That's because of the shoulder slope. That 1 inch that we've taken down is actually 8 inches. Then we're going to go ahead and measure the bust line. The bust line is 11 inches. The under bust line is 13 inches, and the waist line is 18 inches. Then we'll also be going down by 2 inches later for the backs. Right here, I'm going ahead to rule out the lines I've marked for my bust line, my under bust, and my waistline. Here I'm marking out the armhole line as well as the shoulder slope. I'm just ruling along the shoulder slope. I'm not taking any measurements per se. Later we'll come back and work on that shoulder slope. So next, we're going to move ahead and mark our nipple to nipple measurement, which is also our bust span measurement. My bust span is 4 inches. Half of my bust span 4 inches. So I'm just marking that on my waist, under bust and bust. And then I'm going to be coming down by 0.5 inches. And then we're just going to roll that. We are going to go ahead and measure 1 inch on both sides of the waist and the under bust. Now we'll connect these lines to the bust line. That's 1/2 inch that we measured down. That's where we'll connect the 1 inch to. And then we'll do the same thing to the line that we marked as backs. So we'll just be reeling across, as you can see what I'm doing right here. Right here, we are going to be measuring the difference between our under bust and bust. That is, my bust is 11, my under bust is 14. So 14 minus 11 is 3. So on that nipple to nipple measurement we marked earlier, I'm going to be marking 3 round my bust. So we are marking this as a guide for our neckline. For the neckline, we are going to be coming down by 9 inches, and then we are just going to go ahead and carve out the shape of our neckline. First, I'm going to be using my pencil to trace out what I want my neckline to look like before I go ahead to use marker, so when I make mistakes, I'm able to clean it up. So right here, I'm just drafting out what I want my neckline to look like. Moving on, right here, I'm going to be measuring my bust span at that spot. That way we can draft our bust dart. That is what we are trying to draft now. So I'm going to be marking my bust span right there. And then we will be moving to the shoulder slope. This is where we are going to use our shoulder slope. So I'm using 5 inch on my shoulder slope divided by 2, which is 2.5 inches. And I'm going to rule it down to my bust line. Then on that line, on our neckline, we are going to be measuring 1/2 inch on both sides on that spot, and then we are going to be ruling it down to our bust line. Right here, I'm going to be marking my bust measurement. My bust is 10 plus 1 inch allowance, which is 11. And then moving on to the under bust, my under bust measurement is 8.5 plus the 2 inches we took for the dart and 1 inch for our allowance. I'm going to mark that there, and I'm going to mark the same thing on my waist. So I already used my pencil to trace what I want my back line to look like, and I'm just going to use a marker to make the lines visible. On the front pattern, on our bust line, we are going to be going down by 1 inch on our center bust line. So you come down by 1 inch and then just trace along that circle that we already marked as a guide for our bust. So So you're just going to trace around it, and then I'm going to curve around to the line symmetric to my armhole line. So you're going to see what I'm going to do there. I'm going to rule a line. This is just style line. It's not necessary that you do it. You can just draft out that line across to the end of the bust line. But this is what it's looking like. I didn't take any particular measurement to measure. I just used my eye to eyeball it, and then I'm just going to cut it up. Moving on to the back, I already drafted out my basic bodice back pattern out. So now we are going to be drafting out the neckline for the back. So my neckline, I'm going to be going down by 7 inches, and then I already went ahead to use my pencil to trace out what I want my neckline to look like. So I'm just going to be using the marker to trace it out for you guys to see. Right here on my back, on that spot of my neckline, I'm going to be coming up by 4 inches, which is my bust span, so that because I want to cut along that line for my back. Right here on my waistline, I'm going to be coming in by 1 1/4 inch, and then on my neckline, I'm also going to be going in by 1 1/4 inch. Then on my under bust, I'm going to be marking 1 1/2 inch to come inwards. You know, the back is curved, so to achieve that curved look. Right here, I'm placing my body measurements. Right here, I'm adding my body measurements. So my bust is 11 inches with my 1 inch allowance, and my under bust, I'm also adding 2 inch allowance. That's 1 inch for the dart and 1 inch for my sewing allowance. So I'm just going to mark that there, and I'm going to do the same thing for my waist measurements. I already cut out on my fabric. Here for the strap, we have 5 inches by 45. You can make yours shorter. I would have preferred to make mine shorter, like 35 inches instead of 45 inches. Right here, I already joined my back together. I already joined them together. Also for my front, I already joined those pieces together, remaining the up part of it. So I'm just showing you what it looks like. So right here, I'm going to be sewing 2 lines across that bust line. I have also cut out my bias tape using my fabric for my boning channel. This is what my strap is looking like. As you can see, I sewed 1/2 inch on both sides, leaving that center for my 1/2 inch elastic. These are the hooks that I'm going to be using to join my strap to my corsets. You can easily find this in your local supply store. So this is what the strap is looking like when I finished with it. And moving on to the corset, I already joined my lining pieces and I added my bra cup to my lining. And then for my main fabric, I already added my bonings to my boning channel. So now we are going to be joining our fabric to our lining. So I just placed them right side on each other. So you're just going to make sure that those lines are aligned, and then I'm going to sew along my front neckline to my armhole, leaving the strap line for my straps. So I'm just going to sew that. I already joined my lining piece to my main fabric, and I also added my straps. So what we are going to be doing right now is to fix our eyelets. I'm going to be fixing my eyelets, and I'll also be sewing bias along the ends of the corset. So I already made my bias using my fabric, so I'm just going to sew that at the end. I already finished the corset, so this is what the finished look is looking like. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.